All right. Welcome as we continue chapter 1 on our discussion of computation and numbers. This is section 2, lesson 5, significant figures. Now, we would have started discussing rounding off numbers already, right? So, significant figures, we are going to round off to significant figures in this particular lesson. So, what is a significant figure? A significant figure is counted from the first non-zero digit in a number. So whatever is that first non-zero digit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, those are the options. Whatever is that first non-zero digit in any number, that is the first significant figure. Now, it is important to note that if a zero occurs after the first non-zero digit, that zero will be significant. Right? So that is very important to note. So let's look at an example of that. So let's say we have a number 14,067, 14,067. The first significant digit is this one. So this is number 1. 1 is the first significant digit. 4 is the second significant digit. You are not to skip over the 0 and say, well, this is a 0, so it's not significant. No, once it's after the first non-zero digit, this 0 will be significant. So the 0 is the third significant digit, the 6 is the fourth significant digit, and the 7 is the fifth significant digit. So we have 5 significant digits here. And you might be wondering, well, obviously the number starts with a non-zero number, but look at this. If we have a decimal, 0.00014,067. Now, we see we have 4 zeros. Now, even though this is in the column 1/10, this is in the column 100, we do not consider them as significant zeros. So the first significant number here will be the 1, the 4 is the second, the 0 is the third, the 6 is the fourth, and the 7 is the fifth significant number. Right? So once that 0 occurs in between or after, let's say after the first significant digit, then it is considered significant. So if we have a decimal number as well, 1.0004067, be careful now. This 1 is our first significant digit. The 0 is now significant. So it is now our second. The next 0 is our third. The next 0 is our fourth. 4 is the fifth significant digit. The next 0 is our sixth significant digit. The 6 is our seventh significant digit. And the 7 is our eighth significant. So there are 8 significant figures in this particular number. Now, as I said, you will be requested or required to round off numbers according to significant figures. So let's look at the example. Express 1 to 1 significant figure and to 2 significant figures. So we're going to express these things to 1 significant figure and to 2 significant figures as well, right? So let's look at it. 20,871 expressed to, remember I told you I like to put my brackets and say how much I expressed it to, whether it's 1 decimal place or 1 significant figure, etc., right? Or what's the nearest 100. I always put in brackets what I would have approximated or rounded off my number to, right? So you know that in this section here, we're doing 1 significant figure. So the first significant figure is 1. And of course, when we are rounding off, we look at the digit that's after. It's a 0. Once it's 5 or more than 5, we add 1. But once it's less than 5, it remains the same. 0, of course, is less than 5. So the 2 remains the same. So this number, and in order for this to remain in the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, remember? So ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. In order for this to remain in the tens of thousands column, we put it the 2 and we fill the remaining columns with zeros. So it is approximately 20,000, not approximately 2. We have to remember that, right? I see that happening a lot of the times. So this is approximately 20,000 because the 2 must remain in the tens of thousands column and we fill the remaining columns with zeros. Right? So let's look at the second one. That's 4,175 to 1 SF. So we're looking at the first significant figure here. That's the 4. That's the first non-zero number. Look at the digits afterward. It's less than 5. So this would remain 4. So that's approximately 4. And we fill in the remaining columns with zeros so that we could keep that in the thousands column. So this is 4,000. So one significant figure, 18,361. The first non-zero number is this 1. We look at the digits afterward. It's more than 5. So we add 1 to it. So this is approximately 2. And we fill in the remaining columns with zeros to keep this in the tens of thousands column. So that's approximately 20,000 to 1 SF. Now we get a decimal number, 0.01652. The first non-zero number is this 1. We look at the digit afterward, and that is more than 5. So we add 1 to the 1, which becomes 2. Now the same thing applies here. It's not going to be 0.2. It is 0.2. 0.02, sorry. Because, of course, this is in the 100th column. Because the first column is the 10th column, 1 out of 10. The second column is the 100th column. For it to remain in the 100th column, we have to put the 0 for the 10th column. And now we put the 2 in the 100th column. So it's 0.02 to 1 SF. So you recognize now when we get into the decimal places, we have to make sure that our zeros up front are still there when we are approximating to the nearest significant figure. Remember that we're keeping our columns, we're keeping the digit in the column in which it belongs, right? So it's 0.02. Now, let's look at the approximation to 2 significant figures. Let's look at the approximation to 2 significant figures. Look at 20,871, right? So remember, this 0 is our second significant figure. This is our first, and this is our second significant figure. This is our second significant figure here because any zeros coming after that first non-zero digit is considered significant, right? So let's look at the digit after our second significant figure. It is more than 5. It's 8, more than 5. So this 0 will now become 1. So this is approximately 21,000. So we put back our 2 from before. We put this equal to 1 because it's this digit told us to do that. And we fill our remaining columns with zeros, right? 4,175, sorry. The second significant figure, the first is the 4, the second is the 1. So we look at the digit after this 1 and it is more than 5. So this 1 now becomes 2. So this is approximately 4,200. It can't just be 200 or 2, right? It has to be 4,200. You have to put back this 4, right? Because we want to keep the numbers close by, right? So you have to keep the 4. It's 4,200, right? That's 18,381. The first digit is, the first significant figure, sorry, is 1. The second significant figure is 8. Let's look at the number after 8 to decide what to do with it. And it is it is less than 5, right? So once it is less than 5, we have to increase. We have to increase this number. Less than 5, we have to keep the number the same, sorry. I got distracted. Less than 5, we keep this number the same, so it remains as 8. So this will be approximately, we keep the 1, we keep the 8, and we fill the rest with 0. So it's approximately 18,000 to 2 significant figures. And we have 2 extra ones here. So 0.01652. To 2 significant figures, this is a 0, this is a 0. First non-zero number is this 1. Second is the 6. So we look at the digit afterward, it is 5. So therefore, this 6 must go up to 7. So the answer will be, put back the 0.0, put back this 1, and increase the 6 by 1. So it's 0.017 to 2 significant figures. And just for good measure, let's do this last one. 0.0003841 to 2 significant figures. So 0000, not significant. The first non-zero number is this 3. So this is the first significant figure. The second will be the 8. So we're looking at 2 significant figures. If we look at the number after the second significant figure, it is less than 5. So therefore, the 8 would remain the same. So the answer is approximately 0.000. Remember, we're keeping those 3 and we're keeping the 8 as is. And that is the answer to 2 significant figures. Now remember, you don't have to fill in the rest with zeros because that does not change the position of the 8 or the 3 and so on. Right? So we don't have to fill in the rest with 0. So after we've gotten 0.0038, the 2 significant figures, that is the end of that answer, right? So take note of these little mistakes that students usually make when they're doing significant figures, right? And that is how, this is the demonstration of how we approximate using significant figures.